Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Chariot. This is mostly a co-op game, although I will be playing it single player, in which you are going to either co-op or single player control two characters trying to move a chariot, I suppose is what you would call it. More honestly, I think I might describe it more as a cart as I look at it more. Um, I'm looking for a nice, easy experience here. Nothing special. I've been having some computer hardware troubles, and I'm hoping that I'm finally done with those. So let's just hop in. Let's check the options. I think interesting here. I guess you have to hit A to change the audio, and using a controller, bringing it down is not actually gonna work. This is a weird option. Philips Hue are light bulbs. Interesting. So I've never seen a feature like this. I will say, as somebody who's kind of researched Philips Hue, let me move the mouse out of the way. Um, it is probably the worst home automation system as far as smart bulbs to pick. It's not very interconnectable to much of anything. It is the thing that gets on shelves, certainly. If you're going to go to a Lowe's, a Home Depot, a Walmart, you're probably going to see Philips Hue. I'm fairly certain that Philips Hues require um, a hub, and they just kind of aren't connected to any kind of open source or free open interconnected system. Yeah, I'm using my external software to turn down the audio. There, that's way better. Um, it is an interesting idea, though, but I could see why nobody would have adopted it. To have ambient room lighting. I don't know how many people would really want that while gaming, because it certainly isn't going to affect most people playing most games, and it isn't like you're getting a bigger monitor for that effect. Almost certainly, if you were going to try to have ambient room lighting, and this one is really treating the way this looks, it really is treating it more like a 5.1 setup um, of a surround sound system than a lighting system. With a left, right, center, side left, side right, although not very much on the sides, and then a back left, back right bulb. Like, if you were going to have a system like this, you would really just want a TV that could do ambient room lighting, and I've yet to see a TV that does even that particularly well, because what needs to happen is the TV needs to be able to very quickly, like, process all the colors on a what would probably be a 4K resolution image, frame by frame, like get the average of all those colors each frame, 60, 120, 144 frames per second, however fast that monitor is going. And then it would need to slowly, gradually adjust its ambient room lighting to match that to match that medium color, um, the just the middle color there. It couldn't do it every single frame, otherwise the room lighting would be very jarring. And then every time you'd have like a fade to black, it would go straight to black, and then it would pop real bright again, and that'd be very distracting. It'd probably have to be on an average of averages of 5 seconds. Um, yeah, and I just haven't seen a TV that does that. There are TVs that have LEDs on them, but often it's just you pick a color or maybe it's looking at a single pixel somewhere on the screen, like in the middle of the screen. I've seen some custom made software that has a web camera looking at the screen to do it because it's not built into a TV and nobody really wants that. Uh, but again, for video games, it's not a technology that's anywhere close. I mean, 10, 20 years from now, maybe we would have home automated ambient room lighting connected to games. But noticeably, take a note here. Instead of having surround sound, which is also a technology nobody has ever really adopted in video games, they decided to go with Philip Hue setup. That's pretty crazy there. Arguably, a lot of games barely even adapt to vibration. Like, that is pretty crazy. What does Y do? It says video. Uh, we'll turn this up to high. We'll turn this up to high. We'll make sure there isn't anything that's super high. And we'll stay at 1080p. And it's odd how video is hidden under another button. And then controls are hidden under another button. So, yeah. Then all content is activated, and clicking that just popped up the Steam overlay, which it's not going to catch that. Click here to return to the game. There we go. So, yeah. Again, this game came out in about 2014, came to Steam, according to the release date. I didn't do any real research here. I just wanted to jump into a fairly easy game. So let's start. Now that loading screen almost looks like a mobile experience, but it isn't. So, remembering this game, you have the king has died, and he's in this cart, which I wouldn't really call a chariot. And you would have to push him from the left to the right of the screen. So a very basic concept to start with, and the puzzles will get more difficult later. Here we can see in cutscenes that there are two people, but it feels like the game may very well be just at the end. And so they've pushed his coffin to a final resting place. So yeah, that load screen definitely feels like it was targeting a mobile game, but looking at the widescreen of this game, that's just not kind of realistic that this would be what the game is. Interesting that the female protagonist seems to be the main protagonist. Even looking at the banner on Steam, she is in the center of the she is at the center of the banner where the male protagonist is elsewhere. I really expected him to say, "Oh, and take me with you." In a funny way, this may be a bit of a idea around this is a physics game, but it may be a little bit around the idea of something like um, a Donkey Kong Country type game. We have a magnet that's collecting little bits of collectibles, which I wonder if there will be some upgrades. And I assume that's a checkpoint. And why is it glowing when I stand here? So we have this X button, we have an A button, Y button, and B button. Doesn't seem to do anything. B button probably if you hold it resets. I bet there's probably some secrets. But at the moment it does oddly seem like the glowing may just be an indicator of like how what side you're manipulating. So far so good, really. Really simplistic. It doesn't feel like there would have been much of a difference here compared to playing as a second player. Right trigger creates a rope that lets you pull it forward and does seem to oddly in single player create two ropes connecting to both sides. And if he falls over, oh, he collects the gold. I do not. Interesting. And so this is telling us B resets things. And that is a big collection. Returning to the last checkpoint. Arguably that should be faster. Question definitely though is how do I get that? Let's see. Push this way. If we attach a rope and then jump, then I guess I can pull it up. I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. Well, I figured it out, but there is a danger of figuring out things a different way than you're supposed to figure them out, and then realizing that that you never learned a basic concept that the game was trying to teach you at the tutorial levels. It does look like at some point Y will become a usable feature. It does seem like he will just collect things regardless of how far you are away from him. How far away you are from him. So at the moment, the start here is definitely around the idea of just push him down that way. And then we'll come this way, pull him up. He activates the checkpoints too. So you really are just along for the ride, as it were. It's a somewhat unrelatable idea. Like, I really don't expect too many people in their lives have to cart a king in a cart or cart a corpse. I don't even think that many people even carry caskets. And when they do carry caskets, it's like, all right, you're going to carry it from a car to a grave site. It's hardly going to be a large. I guess you can use the rope to keep it from falling over. Not the video games have to be relatable, but there are definitely aspects in video games that are more relatable to this kind of idea than this. And that definitely creates a scenario where when I look at this game, it doesn't quite feel like a normal game. And that's definitely part of the reason why I'm sure I bought this game and wanted to play it, is because it looked like it would be a little bit more of a puzzle experience, a little bit more of a challenge experience. They're going to have to start to bring up the difficulty as we go, of course, because this is super easy. Feels like the king is the one that's going to get all the dialogue. All right. So we want the king. So can we get him up there? Yes, we can. What we'll be looking for is a certain amount per level, assuming there are even certain levels. It is possible that this is just a game that has one long running experience. It would be a little annoying though if we don't find a shop or anything, and this is just a score in a sense of collecting gold. Like, it kind of feels like, say, that old DuckTales game where you're just playing a Scrooge McDuck and just getting higher and higher amounts of gold and currency for very little reason. And certainly that was the old way of doing games as they transitioned from arcade games into home games. You would see a lot of movement towards, let's just have a score that constantly goes up, and maybe it gives you extra lives, maybe it does nothing. We'll want to keep an eye out for wonkiness, certainly in any game. Like, this is a game that would have needed to have been fairly smooth if you're going to have co-op play. I just got an achievement for getting that third skull, so that does imply to me that there may be 3 skulls throughout the entire game. And we're at 1450, and boy does that feel like we may have missed a 50 somewhere. There's a floatiness to this. Just look at how much airtime your character has. Well, I just got a 100% award. I found the exit and it automatically found there. And so that unlocks a speed run and an entrance. So, and I imagine this is just the levels called entrance. So it may very well be a case that there is only one. This sounds very surround sound, even though I'm sure it's just nicely audio engineered stereo. But yeah, when the king talks, it is very echoey. He has this giant roll of paper. I so we immediately can kind of see the scale of how many levels there will be. It's not that big. Now, the rolls, yeah, it probably rolls, but I would suspect that at best we're going to get maybe 4 levels per world and maybe 8 worlds in total. That would be the standard Super Mario Brothers experience. As far as the shop, let's see. Hmm. Hmm. This might be a DLC item. Hmm. And then this almost certainly is the DLC item. Hmm. 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 So oddly, it seems like there's a bunch of DLC items, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regular game items, and then just blueprints for several other items on the second row. Some of these look like they need extra blueprints to get increased versions of these. These may not be DLC items, they may just be by default unlocked items. Hmm. And if I was gonna pick this up, like hitting A doesn't seem like it did anything there. I almost wonder if these are gonna be items that you pick up in the level itself. Hmm. We now know that there's 75 skulls, so that, and since we got 3 per level, then we know there are 25 levels in total, which that's less than even I thought. There seems to be some custom secret items that'll probably be a little bit more difficult to find. And I suspect maybe this vault will fill up with more gold later on. Alright, well, so let's look here. Interest A exploration is what we started with. And so you have this second way to play in which you could just speed run it. But almost certainly what you would want to do is not do any of the speed runs until you've done the main story, and then at that point reevaluate whether it's really even worth your time to do the speed runs if you are still having fun at that point. But you're just going to get better at controlling things, or you're going to get upgrades that increase your speed, which is also believable. This one has 2 entrances, and we know it has 2 exits, and we know it has a collectible special item. That's what I'm assuming the icon in the top left at the bottom there indicates. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, it does definitely feel like you should just pick something. The game is definitely not pushing you towards it's not pushing you towards trying it without an item, and it's not penalizing you from what I can tell for having an ability. Almost certainly the abilities are going to not be that useful. I guess you may have to get 4 pieces to find the collectibles. So that's your bubble. And eventually it's going to run out, and then it's on a cooldown. Almost certainly it's slower. We should go fast, even though this is an exploration, just to see what the fastest way to deal with all of this is. Right, trigger, and then left bump pulls it up. Interesting. So there was a whole system that I didn't even know about. I don't know if it is faster to pull it up tighter, or if it is faster just to have it be this anchor around your neck at all times. Alright. Seem to be all over the place. Left stick and left bump. Tying it to a 2-player. Well, you may inherently be unable to get everything in this game unless you play. Yeah. Yeah, I question whether you can actually get up here and then get it up there. And yeah. Interesting. Well, that certainly kills some enthusiasm for the game as far as trying to play it single player only. If you've got nobody that wants to play you, then you're definitely going to have less of an experience, and that's not generally what I would like to see in games that have co-op. Unfortunately, there has been a fairly large increase in co-op only or co-op first games. There's been a large increase in multiplayer first, multiplayer only games. As someone who definitely comes from a NES era type video games where everything had a single player first and foremost, that doesn't really work for me. And it doesn't really work for games in the long run. Like, particularly a game like this. Like, this is hardly a Call of Duty Modern Warfare type experience where you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of people play at the same time. See if there was just some way potentially to tie it off. Like, then it would kind of work if I could tie the rope. And see, that would be the solution here, is to have the sign, instead of just be a sign that says it needs 2 people, have it be where I can press some button. Right stick, left stick, up, down, right on the D-pad. Hmm. 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 Yep. Yeah, I just don't see a solution here. Hmm. You bring this up far enough so it starts to roll. And then, unless you do something like that, it's going to yank you down more than you're going to be able to yank it up. Hmm. Yeah, it really feels like the best case scenario you would have with this is that you would be able to get most of the collectibles, but not all of the collectibles. And um, then you'd have to bring somebody in for cleanup work later. Hmm. Oops. I have a hard time getting that back where it. I don't think the shield here, which once you disable it, yeah. The floaty nature of the jumps does allow for you to potentially throw a rope and then jump further than you think you would. I will have to say though that this doesn't really feel as fluid as I would have liked it to have been, though. It does feel a little wonky, a little slow, a little floaty in the controls. Whereas I would have wanted it to be a smoother experience. That's kind of true for like a lot of Mario games too. They in my memory feel like they are always really tight controls, but like they actually tend not to be as tightly controlled as it you would hope. Um, I recently got New Super Mario Brothers U for the Nintendo Switch, and that game actually controls pretty awfully. And I imagine that may just be a diversion between what modern games are versus what original Mario games are, in the sense that original Mario games tend to have been uh, actually a lot more difficult than what a modern game would be. Yeah, I'm not sure if I ever actually beat Super Mario Brothers 1, or Super Mario Bros. 3, or whether I just saw someone else beat Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 3. And it definitely was a different time in the old days in which um, he has to pick up these blueprints too. Yep, it was definitely a different time in the old days when you would get one, maybe two or three games per Christmas, or most kids would. And now we're in an age where a game like this will come out every couple of weeks. Yep. I think co-op, particularly in the case for a game like this, just highlights chasing a trend, which video game developers do love to chase trends, even to their own detriment. And a more modern version, a smarter version of this game would have been a single player experience. And if you were to remake it today, a smarter version of this would be to try and have it be mobile compatible. Um, and since it's not going to be that complicated of a game, obviously, and something that is just promoted consistently, and that's something most game developers fail to do, is just consistently promote their games, put them on sale, or remind people that they exist. Hmm. Interesting. So the game is straight up telling you you can't get everything. Which, you know what? Fine. If the game wanted to tell me I can't get everything, then by all means tell me I can't get everything, but maybe be more straightforward about it. And he just rolled all the way. So I'd assume that this was going to give us a lantern at some points that would move us further to the right. But at the moment, it seems like what's going to happen is that you can, um, we're going to stay in a column of two, uh, two levels. Let's see what this new one is. Hmm. Okay, so a peg is exactly what I needed. So they teased it, but they didn't explain it well, frankly. That kind of sucks. So we've been told basically we need to have the peg available to us at all times. Okay. And the vault didn't get any bigger. Okay. So we will be using the peg pretty much consistently so that we can get everything we can get in these levels to start with. Otherwise, we are going to have to do an exploration, then a second exploration, then a speed run. If we do speed runs and potential different entrances, it also probably wouldn't hurt if they let you play as a male character. Let's see. If I do this, then I can do this, and yes, that's exactly what we needed. And that's just going to peg him, and we can push here, see if that breaks. So he will roll on these ghostly rails. I will have to jump. I don't know if that really changes the experience that much. It being a blocker will change things. Might be a little bit easier to have him further away, but it might be too far away. Kind of feels like the game is sort of helping me. Almost wonder if we're gonna land in a I see these characters, but they're not near me yet. And they're not, I don't think, stealing. I don't think they're just stealing things because I happen to be near them. That would be kind of unfair. Yeah, it seems like the game is going to have us see them and see the idea that they appear. Definitely doesn't feel like it's going to be a delicate balance where you could lose so much gold that you would potentially not be able to afford upgrades. Yeah. But even introducing enemies probably won't speed up the general pace of this game. It's very much just slow, figure it out, move this couch cushion of a character. I don't know if there was real reason to do that. It kind of feels like there could be a scenario where they unlocked a mode that hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, it seems like there could be an unlocked mode at some point. Come on. Still didn't really work. So these pegs are not kind of the best way to do this. It's not enough there. Need to kind of give it more slack. I don't think I really have enough slack there. Yeah, it feels like the trick here is kind of crazy. That you may have to peg something anyways, or you may have to jump to bounce the character up. So that does potentially just say, yes, once again, you can only get this with a 2-player experience. And clearly this is the speedrun experience. So we want it upright, not upside down. I was going to grind the crate. And that gave us a blueprint. So we'll get some upgrades, it seems. And the game will probably get easier as we go. Which arguably it's already a little too easy. But I do really question if you'll just never be able to get all the second player content. So anybody who wants to play this game as a single player game is going to just be forever doomed to not be able to get all the collectibles. And since this is mostly a collectible game, it seems. Alright, go this way. And then go that way. That means he's just going to roll downward. I'm going to leave him. Definitely feels like there will be times in which you just leave this. And then the 2-star symbols. I don't know if that's counting or if that's specifically saying there's a level of difficulty here. Although, again, it doesn't seem like it matters too much because we see yet another, you need a co-op player. There's certainly a level to this that I could cheat. Like, nothing stops me from pressing the P button on the keyboard and just trying to control 2 things at once. Huh. Yeah, but there's no way I could get... You're going to need somebody to get it up that way, and then somebody to get higher to pull it up again. I don't think the pegs alone would work. It's fairly obvious what should have happened here for this game is that there should have been a level of artificial intelligence, or you make an experience like A Tale of Two Sons where you can control 2 characters with 1 controller. Oddly, I think A Tale of Two Sons literally does not let 2 players play because it's 1 controller controlling both characters. So maybe there's just never been quite a great solution figured out. This one might be fairly difficult. We definitely want to keep an eye out for difficulty spikes too. Like, I guess the trick here is to jump on this like this and ride it. But yeah, we could have the major difficulty spike happen at any point, and then there might just be one thing that the game requires the player to do, and that one thing may just be beyond the realm of my ability. And if you can't even exit the level because you don't do that one thing, then that's the end of your experience, or that's the end of the experience being entertaining at the very least. So that's a problem with all puzzle games. That's why you see in a lot of puzzle games there's usually a percentage of collectibles you need to do, or a percentage of puzzles you need to collect, instead of a absolute demand that you must collect. Well, oops. So you can't get too far away. That's good to know. Hmm. Hmm. It's also probably good to find out that gotta get a little bit more of a bump. Hmm. If you go back to a checkpoint, you don't collect everything. So let's just take this safely and slowly and get what we can, and just assume we can't get everything. The king being in a coffin allows it to be an item of importance that you won't just want to flippantly lose somewhat. Although, then you also kind of make him a comedic character and a quest giver, as it were, which might make some players kind of annoyed with him, and might make some players a little bit more willing to lose him. But yeah, fairly quickly here I have determined it's going to be a case of our best intentions, not guaranteed results. Like, I'm not going to get every single collectible. It definitely feels like there's a scenario here where you where you may get stronger and pull the rope faster or move faster. This does look like we are approaching something. Okay. Do these constantly spawn? Hmm. They seem like they take a lot of hits. So, again, it feels like I'll probably level up and do more damage later. And that was just the very beginnings of a taste of fighting enemies, where I kind of suspect at some point we probably will have a full-on boss fight. Let's see. See, this is kind of like the Mario flag level. I don't know if I can really do this. I need to get the guy up, but I need to get him just at the edge so that I can do something like that. We don't particularly need it to be rolling off the edge, but it seems like that may just be a factor. Interesting. I just got 100%. All right. That did not work. That's what I want to do. And that was just a little collectible, which I thought maybe that would be something else. Hmm. 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 Was I supposed to find ladybugs? Interesting. There's a new thing that's unlocked, obviously. We didn't get all the skulls on that one. We didn't get all the skulls on that one. We didn't get 100% on that one. Right. Seems like the game is auto-saving. Seems like it gives you more question marks. We did get some kind of blueprint. I guess we got half of the way towards the Royal Lantern. And so this indicates there will be important storyline things you have to find to move forward. Otherwise, you're going to have to do the levels again. So we know how many of those blueprints really need to be collected and how many items. It's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 items in particular. Maybe the lantern would also have us get rid of the thieves or certain kinds of low-level enemies. These are almost like achievements. Reach an exit of the hive without alerting any looters. Reach any exits of the crystal castle without anchoring or winding the rope. Reach any exit of Molten River without respawning. Reach the exit of the hidden level with no gadgets equipped. So we've unlocked a gadget as an achievement. Unlock all gadgets, fully upgrade a gadget, fully upgrade the chariot, deliver a chariot blueprint crate to its destination, deliver all chariot blueprints, completely reveal the map of a level, completely reveal the map of all levels, find an alternate exit, find all alternate exits, find 3 skulls, find all 3 skulls in every level, bronze medal in speedruns, bronze medal in every speedrun, gold medal in speedrun, gold medal in every speedrun, 12 seconds of airtime with the chariot, spend 500,000 loot, reach maximum speed on the chariot, encounter a looter of each type, locate and obtain the largest type of jewel, blue jewel without a second player, which does imply that there might be a way to get the blue jewels without a second player. But then you have play a level from the beginning to the end with a second player, so you can't get all the achievements without at least playing with a second player or pretending to have a second player. And for a game that's this old, you're just not going to have a lot of people interested in that. On top of which, there's no online component here, so it's not like I could connect to a random person and play with them. That would still be really annoying to say the least either. Anyways, because if this came out in 2014, I'm playing this in 2022, you're talking 8 years in which people would have probably gotten really, really good at this game. So anybody that would have been on a theoretical online co-op hookup would have probably been just trying to speed run the game. And so you wouldn't have a casual experience. You would have the player online playing way faster than you and just running ahead. Okay, so you can swap characters with the X button. So we can play as the male character. And I don't think that there's much of what you would need on a speed run. Should try what the warp beacon is. Okay. Feels even a little frame ratey showing that panning. Alright, so what we want to do is push this guy as fast as possible and hope that pushing is the right move and momentum is the right move. And then just try and get through as fast as possible and go. And then push here and go as fast as possible. And then push here and go as fast as possible. Like, the question really comes down to like warping. Would warping possibly speed this up? Let's see. I know that's fairly slow. The warp ability. Yep. And that's blocked off. I think pulling with the rope probably is about the fastest experience. If you're just going to try and move the momentum of these characters or of this chariot. Suppose it might be a case that as this gets upgraded, this might feel more like a chariot. Come on. That did not work. Let's see if we can recover. Take forever. Interesting. Well, that wasted time. Let's see, we're into the bronze. It seems like step, and that may mean that there is no real way to do these speed runs at the moment. There may just need to be like major upgrades. I could see the Chariot just getting faster through upgrades. I could see your character getting faster. I could see new abilities. Like we are now past even getting a bronze at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And yeah, that's really questionable as to how you would have gotten all the way to the end of this level in that time frame. Like you really, I think, would have to have gone with the flow, doing a lot of these tricks, and even getting the timing wrong a little bit, I think paints you in a really bad scenario. Like this was minimum 3 minutes and 30. We were supposed to have gotten to the end of the level. And we are hitting 5 minutes plus. And speedrun levels, or the version of speedrun levels, really block off side areas, so they keep the levels fairly linear. The gyms, I think, may be giving you a little bit of resources, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they are simply mostly here to just point you in the right direction. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, we needed to have done that in 2 minutes and 40 seconds for gold, 2 minutes and 55 seconds for silver, and 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So, yeah. Definitely not a lot of hope for doing speed runs at the moment. These levels have these little edges on them showing that they either have an extra entrance or an extra exit. It would be interesting to check out the leaderboards. Like the Woodland Festival has leaderboards here of 1 minute 34 as far as speed runs. And then you see a lot of variety here, which definitely indicates either they have done a really good job of stopping cheaters from just putting up ridiculously fast times, or there's just not that many people playing. Like, seems like, yeah, there's probably a decent number of people. If we look at like our score, we're at 2,827. It's a decent amount of people, but I would say not really a lot of people. If I'm doing horribly on the speed runs and I'm still in the top 3,000, that shows how this is never going to be, and never really had a chance of being a like majorly popular game, because it is just kind of its own unique thing. Let's see. Let's just go back to the main menu. I think that's a good place to end it here. Yeah, and at this rate, There's a decent chance I won't do any of the speedruns. There's a decent chance I won't get all of the collectibles. So this may be a fairly short experience where I just run through the story and we'll see if the puzzles get particularly more challenging or if it isn't kind of a cakewalk to finish at least the storyline main part of the game. I have unlocked 4 achievements in doing 3 levels, 3 or 4 levels. There are about 45 more achievements to unlock. So I don't think I would get all of those. However, unless I played second player with a second player and got all the collectibles and did all the speed runs. So I probably won't be focusing too much on achievements, which does then boil the game down to just getting an object from point A to point B, which is a little simplistic in a video game, even if you're going to make it slightly challenging. It's no surprise that there was never a Chariot 2, even though it would probably have made a lot of sense that 2-3 years later they came out with a second game that was just a whole nother collection of puzzles, but that would have required this game to have been a lot more popular, I'm sure. Anyways, I don't want to make this too long of a wrap up, so that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.